Language and Literature at Bucks County Community College. And I'm the director of the Bucks County Poet Laureate Program. It's such a pleasure being here with you today. Welcome to the 2021 Bucks County High School Poet of the Year Contest, Reading and Celebration. So despite the uncertainties that we've all faced this year, this was an absolutely wonderful year for the program. Many thanks to Bucks County High School teachers, to all of our entrants, our wonderful judges, and members of the Bucks County Community College community, including Dean of Language and Literature, Nicole Tracy, Donna Schaefer, Emily Bruno, especially Rose Karwoski, who I could never do anything without. Thanks also to Chris Bursk, Jean Dolan, Tony Rogers, Megan Smith, and Damon Honeycutt for their help with today's program. We received over 150 entries from all over the county this year. So it was a bumper crop despite the pandemic, or maybe because of the pandemic. And we are absolutely delighted to announce this year's winning poet, Solebury School senior, Casey Epstein Gross. With us today are also the three runners-up. Congratulations, Casey. Our three runners-up are Annika Crawford from the George School, 11th grade, Madeline Yates, Central Bucks High School West, also a junior, and Rihanna Searle from George School, also a junior. Congratulations to our runners-up today as well. We're also joined today by several additional finalists whom I'll introduce shortly. All of you who entered are winners as well. You had the tremendous drive, follow through, and talent to send us your best work, and we're really grateful. We know firsthand, the judges and I, what it's like to put yourself out there, to put your creative work on the line. It's never easy, and we commend you for doing so. We're also, speaking of the judges, really grateful to have with us the two talented judges of this year's contest. Current Bucks County Poet Laureate, Jane Edna Moeller, and last year's Bucks County Poet Laureate, Mary Jo Lobello Jerome. They bring so much energy and professionalism and intelligence to this process. The Poet Laureates will each speak and read first, followed by this year's High School Poet of the Year, runners-up, and finalists. Whether or not this is your first time at a poetry reading, please relax and enjoy. And thanks to all of you who are tuning in to watch us. First up is our current Poet Laureate, Jane Edna Moeller. Bucks County Poet Laureate Jane Edna Moeller is a native of Bucks County, currently residing in Peace Valley. Broken Umbrellas, her full-length book of poems, was published by Kelsey Books in 2019. Her poems are forthcoming or have appeared in Gargoyle, the Skinny Poetry Journal, the Boston Globe, the Schuylkill Valley Journal, US 1 Worksheets, River Heron Review, and the 2020 Bay to Ocean Anthology. She's the 2016 winner of Main Street Voices Poetry Competition, a two-time Pushcart Prize nominee, a Robert Fraser finalist, and previously a runner-up for Bucks County Poet Laureate. A presenter at the 2020 Bay to Ocean Writers Conference in Maryland, she's scheduled again for this year. Jane taught English over 2 summers at Guangdong University of Foreign Studies in China. She's a school counselor through the Montgomery County Intermediate Unit. She shares her home with her artist husband and 3 distinguished cats. In addition to writing, Jane is a traditional rug hooker, gardener, and kayaker. Please help me in welcoming Jane Edna Moeller, our Bucks County Poet Laureate.
Thank you, Ethel. And to all the students here, I'm so thrilled to be here and seeing the beginning of your writing career. I was writing in high school as well. Nowhere near the quality that you guys have put out. It was astounding. It was difficult. Mary Jo and I spent a lot of hours looking at all of it. It was astounding. And we're not just saying that. So I'm really honored to be here with you all, and so thrilled that if you choose to continue writing, you've gotten such a great start so early in life. So thank you for letting us read your work. I've picked 3 poems to read today that I think are a little more general than some of mine. And the first one is sort of like, I wrote this over a long time, thinking about where my poems come from. And they come from almost domestic acts. So I will read this one. It's called Sometimes Poems Spray from Onions. Sometimes poems spray from the bleeding purple onions I chop for dinner. Sometimes they wriggle between my dirty socks and towels as I sort black from green. Arrogant young poems loll in the sun, care less if we ever hear them, sloppy and delicious in their salty skins. Some poems are gathered beneath dry leaves, morels to beg from dense, cold clay. Poems may fall unnoticed, the last snow flurry shaken loose from the empty cereal box of winter. Smoldering poems drift in the punk scent of the Bradford pear, springing as births from autumn's rut. And tonight I hear thick-coated poems, lightly crunching on bones in the woods. There's always woods and lakes and everything because I'm right by Peace Valley Park. The second poem goes in so many different directions, but it's fun. It's inspired the title of my book, Broken Umbrellas, and it has a little bit of everything, and it's called Broken Umbrella. Walking in the rain with my broken umbrella makes me think of China, where umbrellas work so hard. In the road, there are 2 water main plates, 4 sprawling puddles, and I am thirsty. I'm walking to the acupuncturist. Even though he talks more, he makes me think of my father. My father mostly healed himself with fish hooks, hose, pruning shears, and saws. I ache. My chi has run into a ditch. I want it fixed. I want my umbrella to remain a little broken. I want to think China is waiting, hidden behind the brooding earth, where something a little broken is nothing to see. It's a very nice anonymous experience to be in China and not be able to really speak without help. I forget where the other ones were published, but this next one was published in one of the early River Heron reviews, which is our local people from New Hope. The last time the skiff sank. Was the late sun chilled and low when her captain turned his back? Her name, Aurora, still visible where she rests upon the muck. Her lap-strake planks still meet, strong in a sharp bow, after years of riding in different opaque waves. She had been useful, cared for more than a cranky outboard or a dented pail. What storm changed her worth? No shudders from sidelong waves, no more staying afloat, abandoned or surrendered to a silent change of hands? When does the flag change over your home? The sofa hit the curb, the ballad become dull. Thank you. Everybody have fun reading.
Thank you so much, Jane. Our next reader is Mary Jo Lobello Jerome. Mary Jo is Poet Laureate Emerita of Bucks County. She edited the recently published book, Fire Up the Poems, Poetry Prompts for Teachers. Her poem, I Dream of What My Mother Means to Say, won an honorable mention in the 2020 Allen Ginsberg Poetry Awards and is forthcoming in the Patterson Literary Review. Her poem, Torch the Empty Fields, was recently published in Poets Reading the News. She won first place in the Main Street Voices Poetry Competition and has been nominated for a Pushcart Prize and the Best of the Net Award. She holds an MFA from Vermont College of Fine Arts and has written for the New York Times, Scholastic Publications, and many other magazines. A former high school English teacher and associate professor of writing at regional colleges, she has lived and taught in Rotterdam, Tokyo, and Blairstown, New Jersey. Mary Jo is currently working on a collection of poems. Join me in welcoming Poet Laureate, wonderful Mary Jo Lobello Jerome.
Thank you, Ethel, and hello, everyone. To all of these wonderful student writers. I am honored to be here with you. Really, your work the work this year was just phenomenal. And like Jane said, we spent hours and hours going over them. Ethel sent us the top winners, and really, it was really, really hard to choose, right, Jane? But what I have to say, even if you didn't come out on top this year, keep writing. Your voices are unique. They're strong. Your work is beautiful. Winning is wonderful, but keep going. It's a joy to read your work. I'm going to read a couple of poems, two of mine and one that I came across just recently because it fits perfectly with what we're doing today, honoring students and expressing the joy of hearing young voices. So this is a poem by Kim Stafford, and it was in the March issue of Poetry Magazine. It's called At the Student Poetry Reading. I guess you could call me broken, says one. I'm still lonely, says another, but now I can name it with a song. In my poem, says another, I can forget I am forgotten. Now I understand being misunderstood, says another. And another says in a bold, undeniable voice of power, I won't step down from myself again. And they are beautiful, beautiful, standing one by one at the mic where they have come forth at last from behind the curtain. So again, that's Kim Stafford at the Student Poetry Reading. And I wish we could all be together, standing together near a mic with a curtain around us, but with Zoom we'll have to do. So now a couple of my poems. This one expresses some of my feelings from this past pandemic year. I think we can all relate to it in some way or another. It's called Kissing Windows on a Pandemic Summer Day. He flattens his lips on the plate window of the storefront. Inside, the mannequins wear face masks. He kisses the glass in a line like nibbling an ear of corn. Greasy lip prints smudge through the grime and soot. I'm at the corner, aware of heat and distance, waiting for the light. We watch, but avoid his eyes. Sir, sir, a girl calls, don't do that. It's a fact. You'll fetch germs. Fetch, not catch. She's not from here. Someone needs to take him home. 94 degrees, no answer but sweat and shrugs. He rails to the still life models dressed in lime and pink spring outfits, a mini dress, a pantsuit, tan handbags, medical face coverings. Don't Don't, damn system. Where is it? Julia, pick up the phone. What he says exactly, I don't know. But how he says it, Jesus. When he leans his forehead on his reflection, tete, I imagine he whispers street corner secrets in the sun to the Julia he can't visit. What he needs, these mannequins overdressed for a day on the town can't give him. When the pedestrian signal lights up, the mom from elsewhere pulls her girl to the crosswalk. Someone will fetch the police. Later at home, with the neat row of salvia and vinca out front in the shade, I tell this story and regret I made it funny. So I tell it again, the right way. And this next poem captures maybe what we were all feeling as we were waiting for spring. And now spring and summer are here. So this one is called Tulips in Midwinter. And as Ethel mentioned in my bio, my family lived in Holland for a couple of years. So tulips are really part of our DNA now. Tulips in Midwinter. Thank God in the cold for supermarket flowers. Such extravagance, I bought 3 lush bunches of tulips, though I wanted so many more to mass in glass vases on every surface in the house. Vivid oblong buds atop triads of fleshy leaves and upright green stems. I wanted heaps of deep goblets spilling gladdening hues. I think of our Texel trip with the girls, biking the flat lanes through the farms, quiet roads bordered by fields and fields of tulips. Everywhere we looked, full orderly rows of yellow, purple, orange, pink, red, dazzling our sight beneath that gray Dutch sky, until all the shades blurred in the distance. We stopped, the girls ran up a sandy path and knelt to hide inside the glow, their heads and shoulders just peeking above the buds. The tulips seemed giant then, swallowing our shining girls, rising and giddy with color. So thank you all. Good luck, and I can't wait to hear the student writers.
Thank you, Mary Jo. So it is my pleasure to introduce the 34th Bucks County High School Poet of the Year, Solebury School senior Casey Epstein Gross. Welcome, Casey. This isn't the first time that Casey has been honored for her writing. She was awarded a gold medal and multiple regional gold and silver keys in the 2021 National Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, presented by the Philadelphia Writing Project. Casey won for her critical essay, Looking Through the Window, Narrative Form and the Act of Reading as Voyeurism in Wuthering Heights. She's also published her poems in several journals, and she's active in extracurricular activities as senior class co-president, Holmquist Proctor, peer leader, soulmate, and Judiciary Committee member. Her interests include political science, English, philosophy, and other humanities fields. Here's what the judges had to say about Casey's work. Jane, if you wouldn't mind reading first, and then Mary Jo.
I just want you to know that Ethel told us to write 3 or 4 sentences, but we both got really excited. So that's why they're long. I hope you enjoy it, Casey. These poems offer the reader a fantastic kaleidoscope of pungent images. This poet masters language, bends it to her will with an onslaught of sometimes uncomfortable, true images. The lines are pure excitement. In Alecto, Queen of the Fairies, the speaker wants to make herself wild again as she reminisces about previous risky and caustic experiences, like drinking rusty chlorine by the gallon. The poem moves quickly on to sedation, where we wonder if this is the origin of her memories, a chemical sleep, tasting of sugarcane and lemon. Like all the poems in this set, this is more than a one-time read. The title of It's kind of a really nice day is conversational. But once again, this poet takes the reader on a wild ride of acrid images. She finds the devil in public bathroom mirrors, scales a fire escape with broken fingernails, and has stood like a shadowed rabbit in blue fields. Wonderful. Just as quickly, the speaker then addresses someone who startles her into something new and soft, whose voice is wrapped in whist and spun sugar, smelling like chopped wood and June. These sensory images are superb. The most efficient way to eat an orange begins like the other poems, all tough and vinegar. But in the transitional middle stanza, the speaker admits, I've always wanted to drink coffee black, but I've never had the stomach for it. And in the final stanza, she wishes she was a black coffee, truth-telling, orange rind woman. Admits she isn't, but envisions a future that appreciates the bigness of the world more than today. This speaker is settled with who she is now and holds in her imagination her natural evolution in the future. This is a strong and memorable poem in search for self. Thank you. Great job, Casey.
And I had a lot to say too about these poems. So let me just start here. These poems, Casey, are masterful. They engage the imagination and open vistas of reflection. Casey has crafted delightful images around original subjects with an artful and gifted grasp of language. Casey has invited us to enter the mythical world of Alecto, Queen of the Fairies, through associative, dreamlike images, and the reader is enchanted to follow. The poet takes us on a wild, enjoyable ride where we can taste the sugarcane and sweet lemon. She skillfully employs repetition and resonant particulars in the poem. It's kind of a really nice day. This ironic, understated title is followed by a rhythmic litany of hard experiences felt over lifetimes. It's the juxtaposition of the lovely, nuanced details that elevate the poem to a delightful level of insight. In the last poem in the group, The Most Efficient Way to Eat an Orange, the direct voice and playfully conversational tone invites the reader to feel with the speaker that for now it's enough to put aside truth-telling while we love the bigness of the world. I can't wait to read more from Casey. I know we will. This is the work of a very talented poet. Casey.
Thank you, Mary Jo, and welcome, Casey.
Thank you so much. It was so incredible receiving this award and hearing like just what Mary Jo and Jane had to say about my poetry. I remember like getting the comments back and just being like astonished that like, oh my God, they're like talking about me like I'm an actual poet. And that was just so cool. And it's so cool hearing that again. Yeah, this seriously means so much to me, and I'm so happy I get to be here today, even if it is over Zoom. But you know, it's a special poetry reading for a special year, I guess. But yeah, I'm going to read them, I think in a different order than I submitted them, if that's all right. But the first one I'm going to read is The Most Efficient Way to Eat an Orange. Is that okay that I read them in a different order? Is that fine? Okay, cool. Making sure. The first I'm going to read is The Most Efficient Way to Eat an Orange, which was published in Thin Air magazine in 2020. The most efficient way to eat an orange is to bite right into it, to scarf down the meat and the flesh all in one big gulp and swallow it down whole. Cherish the rind and let it scrape against your stomach, sandpaper on skin. A spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, but why not eat the spoon as well? Sip your coffee with me on the balcony. I'll smile at you while I swirl in the milk and Splenda. I've always wanted to drink coffee black, but I've never had the stomach for it. Of course, you've never been one to sugarcoat things, but I will relish in lies and artificial sweetness until I lie deep in the ground. I wish I was a black coffee, truth-telling, orange rind woman, but the sky is too wide and the grass too tall, the colors too vivid and the wind too loud. Maybe one day I will appreciate the vast bigness of the world for myself, but for now, I will just tell you how much I love it. The next one is Electo, Queen of the Furies, which was published in Permafrost magazine. I want to make myself wild again. Let foam drip from my mouth, run rabid round street corners. A woman possessed has the prettiest eyes, or so they say. I can't remember much how mine looked, but I remember it was a green, watery type of piercing. It's been so long since I last bathed in a college fountain, drank silky pennies off the floor, swallowed rusty chlorine by the gallon. Oh, how I relished the taste. But now my fingers skim soft wood at cafe tables. Now I never drink hot coffee without the use of a spoon. Sedation is the most agreeable form of sedition. Hold my mouth open with a chopstick like old times. Stick that needle in my gums. You always thought it was strange how I licked my lips afterwards. I always thought it was strange how much chemical sleep tasted of sugarcane and sweet lemon. And the last one I have is It's Kind of a Really Nice Day, the title of which actually comes from a feature film, It's Such a Beautiful Day by Don Hertzfeldt. Short, incredible film. I recommend if you haven't seen it. But yeah, it's kind of a really nice day. I have lived among the saddles and the geese, tied tight like a woman gone feral. I have been born again once in New Hampshire, birth trauma circling around me like a belt. I have found the devil in public bathroom mirrors, cold eyes trapped in the baby fat of my face. I have scattered myself throughout the Northeast, ashes from an urn brought on a wintry road trip. I have scaled a fire escape with broken fingernails, swallowed a star and puked it up in a sink. I have hauled logs and run from bears outside castles, inhaled burnt acceptance letters at bonfires. I have stood like a shadowed rabbit in blue fields, evening air plump and ripening by the second. I have yearned and sung and shat and raged and been and been and been and been. But that breath in your eyes when you sit smooth on a couch, on the porch, on the blacktop, that curve of your arm when you rest it on his shoulder, the way you hand off the grocery list and kiss cheeks with ease and make even the word hey sound blanketed in wool, wrapped in whist and spun sugar, smelling like chopped wood in June. That is all new to me. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here today, and I can't wait to hear everyone else.
Wow, thank you, Casey. It was wonderful hearing your work aloud. Oh, thank you so much. So next up, we have Annika Crawford, who is a junior at the George School. And here's what the judges had to say about Annika's work. Jane?
Hi, Annika. It was wonderful, wonderful to read your work.
Thank you.
I have a cat that's giving me a hard time. This poet is adept at pulling disparate ideas together to create original, interesting, and emotionally dense work. In A Violated Girl is a Field After Battle, we're transported to the killing fields of Vietnam and then back to the violation of women. There is fertile, there is virgin, and then the question, am I fallow yet? As if being fallow is a place of safety. The speaker is not sure if she is safe, and that charged uncertainty stays with the reader. In Aurora Chairlift Soliloquy, the poet combines the concrete chairlift ride with silence between her skis' punctuation. We read and wonder, what is left unsaid in the thread silence between the commas, ellipses, and blots of ink? The poem Dissonance pairs italics with Roman text, combining striking images that hold uncertainty. Silence in this poem is like miles of yarn purled taut into one impenetrable sweater. I just love that line. Even this domestic image is tight with an underlying fear. Here, light is dizzying, heels sink, night numbs, holes burn into the sky. The world is filled with foreboding. The poet doesn't let us stay with the opening water lily. She doesn't let us look away, as in the last line. There is no thing left to hide. Thank you, Annika.
Wonderful, wonderful work, Annika. What I wrote about your work. This poet is fearless, absolutely fearless. And to hear that kind of voice in a young person, it takes years to get to this bravery. So I was so impressed. This poet is fearless, transporting the reader to different worlds, both literally and figuratively. In A Violated Girl is a Field After Battle, the poet takes the reader to Vietnam, reliving the horrors, pain, and aftermath of war. The poem dares to go deeper, suggesting a battle against women and the female body. It is the bodies of women which nourish men, the poem says. This poet also bravely tackles tough subject matter and presents insights in interesting original forms. In A Violated Girl, Annika took a Habun-like approach, and through the clever use of italics in Dissonance, that poem is set far from the comfort of our suburban lives in the water lily fields of presumably Southeast Asia. Dissonance shrewdly expresses a dichotomy between images of the past, picking water lilies, fringed in a dizzying light, and an inevitable silence like miles of yarn pulled taut into one impenetrable sweater. We both picked that line, Jane. And then in Aurora Chairlift Soliloquy, Annika creatively pairs a ski lift ascent with the limits of language and storytelling, using the images of prints in the snow that look like punctuation marks to consider the human space created by silence and stories. Annika's poetry feels honest and really, really connects with me, and I'm sure a lot of other readers. So thank you, Annika.
Thank you so much. Like Casey was saying, it's really an honor to be here, and I've never received feedback from my poetry before, so it was really amazing to read your words and insight and hear your poems. I will start reading. This is A Violated Girl is a Field After Battle. I was so angry, my hair turned red, like the inside of my body. Vietnam, how men love to ruin a nation, then weep in their pension-soft beds for how the killing hurt them. Meanwhile, her mountains are pregnant with bombs, unimpressed by the turning decades. Meanwhile, my lips are sealed, if only to muffle the crossfire inside. Don't you know Vietnam is too busy living on to make blockbuster films of her pain? You loved me like the boy loves the lamb while his father slaughters it, wringing pity, pity, pity from his heart, but never intervention. You see, an untilled valley is fertile, an unfelled forest is virgin. Nature is a mother. I mean, it is the bodies of women which nourish men. Am I fallow yet? See here the bridal veil, the molting of my mother, her belly like a taut bow and I its arrow, the sinew purring away the last of her strength, the way if you point your arm straight to the sky on the top of Dong Ap Bia, you can almost touch. Forget they call it Hamburger Hill after the 630 ground up like meat. Forget where this body has been. Stars, forget. Okay. This is Aurora Chairlift's soliloquy. Suppose this story outlives its paper. Suppose you do take my hand, our skin as thin as pastry, twice as rough, and push, ski sailing skid ice, pine shredding by, the snow full of commas, eyes squeezed shut, not because we are afraid to see, but in the dark we see best. I swear my boots printed the snow 3 times before thudding road, ellipses. But what if a blot of ink interrupts this slope? What if it knocks the nose of my ski, my hands plunging into white, the numbness spreading through my fingers like chime sounds? Now that I have made myself silence, now that I have interrupted this story, would you close it? I mean, the space between us, the hour of thread silence between songs shed to minutes with each step the music closing in. Your beckoning fingers then, the fragilest 3-legged stool beneath my chin. I inhale sky because sometimes to be more is to be less, to be weightless. Tilt pool to the little tooth that glints between your lips. The moon, I meant. And last, this is dissonance. A water lily unfolds in her hands, fringed in dizzying light of swinging lantern, tilting shadows across the farm road. Her wrists coated in the grease of siblings and scraped potatoes. Silence like miles of yarn, pearled taut into one impenetrable sweater, now limp in the living trees. Heels sink in the mud of lake bottom, the night numbing the tips of her fingers into dull knives, cutting currents beside the boat. The stars like another unloving mother, the hot words so cold, burning holes in the sky so the wrong wind rushes in her throat. The mouth skin hanging in threads, like curtains after years of war when there is no thing left to hide. That's all.
Thank you so much, Annika. What an incredible reading. Next up is Madeline Yates. Madeline is a junior from Central Bucks High School West, and here's what the judges had to say about Maddie's work.
Hi, Maddie, it is again, congratulations. I wrote, these poems are fresh with a simplicity of language which belies the thoughtfulness of the work. Throughout this set of poems, there's a youthful vibrance combined with an honest examination of self and others. The speaker in Matcha Tea mulls the difference between herself and another. You were strides, I was steps, is an apt description giving the stepwide musings of the speaker, who decides they were only 2 people, not a pair, not jazz or sweet tea or Southern hospitality. These images are comfortable and relatable. In the poem, In All Honesty, is a textured list of short and long admissions of the speaker's humanity. Here again, the speaker is grounded in self-awareness, juxtaposed with light-handed humor. The line, I have the tendency to sing loud, act quietly, and feel silently, is lightened by the whimsy of, I have an irrational fear of creamy peanut butter. Oh, it's wonderful. Autumn's Good Morning is a contemplation of the speaker's passage through a change of season. The matter-of-fact language, including bruises, bites, and blisters, invites the reader into images without any distractions. From the natural world where the crackle of cicadas doesn't shake the morning dew as loud anymore, to the stuffed noses of fall, when we're left to wonder in November what it was like in July. As in the entire set, the poet invites us into her perspective with a depth and welcoming style. Thank you, Maddie.
I had pretty much the same things to say about Maddie's work. Maddie, your work is strong. You have an inquisitive voice that is clearly evident in these clever and well-crafted poems. Matcha tea rhythmically riffs on the golden shovel form, a favorite of mine, with delightful results. In the prose poem, in all honesty, the speaker's exploratory self-descriptions are lyrically and often humorously stated, an example of a poet in control. And who could resist the lovely start of the poem, Autumn's Good Morning? My mother's favorite flower fell into crumbled tan leaves last week. Many poets describe the seasons rhapsodically, but this poet does so with strong images rooted in the real world of bruises, bites, and blisters. These are wonderful poems, Maddie. Really a joy to read. Thank you.
Thank
Welcome.
you so much. Again, I'm so grateful to be here, and just like everyone else said, I really appreciate the feedback and everything. So I'll start with my poem Matcha Tea, and this is inspired by Terrence Hayes' Golden Shovel poem. A chipped cup of matcha tea tastes like what we used to be. I think to defer the fake between the real, label me the fool, inform me of what's cool, because I can now see that we was never you and me. I was right, you were left. You were strides, I was steps. We locked eyes in school, and now the hallways are dark. But that was never what we intended. Smooth talking wasn't really meant to hurt, to love isn't to lurk. Define destiny and fate, and I'll tell you you're too late. Because there's no rewriting, retelling, refighting for what we never had. Empty lies with a side of fries, a strike to the heart, too good at goodbyes. I was never straight-headed, but I know now. To label two, we or us, is not a song to sing. Company does not make light from dim, doesn't make you immune to sin. Two is a number, us is one syllable. We are only two people. We are not jazz or sweet tea or southern hospitality. We are not honeysuckle in June. If anything, we were cherry blossoms that never bloomed. We sank within ourselves, sullen sanctuary. To die is to live, and now my matcha tea has grown cold way too soon. My next poem that I'm going to read is Autumn's Good Morning. My mother's favorite flower fell into crumpled tan leaves last week, asleep until the summer sun tells her to bloom once more. The crackle of the cicadas doesn't shake the morning dew as loud anymore. A sudden alarm turned to a subtle lullaby. Bruises, bites, and blisters still occupy my legs to toes, though they've become faded with the green of the sycamore leaves. I know soon I will abandon my flip-flops at the back door, leaving them lonely along with the opening of the whining screen door. I know what was found will be lost, and what is lost will be found, and I know time heals bruises, bites, and blisters, but time also brings ends. Freckles neutralize, noses become stuffed, and you're left to wonder in November what it was like in July. And my last one is called In All Honesty. I was born on the 13th of May at 10 p.m. during the finale of my mother's favorite TV show. Since then, I've always seemed to intrude at the wrong times, always. I have the tendency to sing loud, act quietly, and feel silently. I'm a giver, not a receiver. I am peace and calm to those who need it, though I'm in most need myself. I love pasta and ice cream and baking, and always calling dibs on licking the spatula, though these things have become the haunting whilst I'm the haunted. I've gone long in this life laying my heart on the stage, wearing my love around the belt loop of my mom jeans, weaving serenity into my string friendship bracelets that were woven with blistered fingers and sunburnt smiles. Though innocence has fallen, and I now see nothing gold can stay. I sometimes talk too much, yet say too little. I've got big dreams, nothing too unrealistic, but just out of reach where one foot's off the ground, and my toes are becoming white and perspiration is appearing at my hairline. At 16, I don't know too much about love, but I know lust. I know passion and anxiousness and reaching out in defeat to prove some type of worth. I think that's enough for now. This is me, in the real, in this skin, in my head. I cry till I sweat and I sweat till I cry. I am shy and bad at making friends, and maybe that's why I rely on the shelter of my bedroom walls to talk me down. Excitement and anxiety sit in my head like water and oil, and I have no way to know if this separation will ever find connection. I have an irrational fear of creamy peanut butter. I bought a yoga mat for $7.99 at Marshall's last week, a physical representation of necessary attachment and a partner for distraction. I know I could do great things and I know I can be better, but the fright and anxiousness of the unknown tips the scale just enough to draw the line between passionate cravings and doubtful unacceptance. I talk to the air like someone will answer, and I pray to the sky like I know who I'm praying to. Music had become my adrenaline rush, my butterflies in my stomach, the relief of letting go. People know me as a singer, but I relate more to a preacher. I'll tell you the truth, I'll give you hope, and I'll praise what my soul worships. Though at the end of the day, I'm kneeling on sticky carpet in conversation to a voice in my head I'm not even sure is listening. A powerful thing, believing that is. I get jealous easily, and I want you to remember me. I'm messy, I'm wishful, I'm passionate, I'm scared, and I always need guidance. I don't know what I'm doing, but in some way, I find peace in not knowing where my life will take me next. And that's the beauty of honesty and the beauty of living. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that beautiful reading, Maddie. Next is Rihanna Searle. She's a sophomore at George School, and here's what the judges had to say about Rihanna's work.
Well, we really liked it. Where is Rihanna? I can't see you on the screen. There you are. Great. This set of poems invites the speaker's quest for meaning in both daily joy and spirituality. What is remarkable is in the way her youthfulness is brought to the reader with sharp, memorable details that readers of any age will enjoy. In Praying, we travel through her considerations of prayer with specific images of youth, from gel pens, Santa lists, and cramps, ending with the speaker's final declaration that praying is dropping my guard down to finally let go, melting into the palm of something greater. This poet allows us to join her careful meditation in the most hospitable manner. Snow Day celebrates the fling of an unexpected day off from daily life, which we don't get as much anymore. In this poem, we're treated to the physical exhilaration of playing in the snow with the speaker's sister, while the reader enjoys the spilled glitter of snow and molding of snow forts. And we're also reminded that this time is ephemeral, as two siblings tumble giddy, unbreakably young for one unraveling minute. Beautiful. The poem's separation starts with the jostle and cacophony of a pre-pandemic high school hallway, then moves the reader to a separate, untouchable silence of virtual school. As the natural year passes, fireflies dance and disappear. Nothing is normal about this speaker's experience and her feelings of isolation. She is tuned into a different world. Cicadas that I never listened to before sing me to sleep as a soothing lullaby in the unsettled world. It is noteworthy that the speaker is not rendered passive by this experience, but instead intends to piece normal back together, not as a puzzle, but as a collage, when the world's hourglass resets its sand. Our universal yearning for a reset is masterfully captured in this insightful image and poignant poem. And I just want you to notice how many people are talking about cicadas, and I remember to wear my cicada today. Thank you. It was wonderful work, Rihanna.
It's good. I don't have a cicada. I have a gold chain. Rihanna, your work was amazing, and I'm so happy to see you again. From last year, you were here too. Let's see what I have here. The interesting allusion to the work of famed American poet Theodore Roethke, My Papa's Waltz, in the poem Praying is an attention grabber in your poem. But the poet is not merely echoing the master work. She strongly expands from this initial thoughtful inspiration and proposes bright, intriguing, unique questions about prayer that bring us to a different place. Really had me thinking. Rihanna's work is strong and smart. In the poem Separation, the poet captures the isolation and aches of the past COVID year so well and looks towards the future without salty wounds and half-empty cups, as a collage with cutouts from Plagues magazine when the world's hourglass resets its sand. I love that image. There's such promise in your outstanding work. Keep it up, and thank you.
Thank you so much, both of you. And Mary Jo, it was so interesting. When I was reading your comments, I hadn't actually intended to make that allusion at the beginning, but then when I read that, I was like, oh, that's such a cool interpretation. That's one thing I really love about poetry, is how readers can bring that to. So the first poem I'm going to read is Praying. I fancy praying as a dance, standing on my dad's feet, waltzing off beat like I did as a child. I suspect praying involves hands, 2 hands folded together, my own 2 hands, or the finger embrace of me and another human being. What composes a prayer? Is a rainbow gel-penned gratitude letter a prayer? If so, I've licked envelopes, prayers tucked inside. Gazing upward, plucking Saturn, Mars, Jupiter from the horizon. Is that praying and being answered? Can you pray if you don't know what you're looking for? When do prayers change from Santa lists to unemployment claims and first therapy sessions? I've stared longingly at lips, silently pleading for a kiss. I've clutched at my waist, hoping for the cramps to go away. Did these things make me a sinner? Was I praying? Praying is dropping my guard down like a veil in a heap on the floor. A veil from my wedding with the world where I ran away at the altar. To pray is to finally let go, melting into the palm of something greater. The next one I'll read is Snow Day. Our footprints map out this new white world, a fling, carelessly flying and falling, the ground catches us. I gaze up at the sky, scratched with barren branches, so big, 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 like the ceiling of a snow globe. The unreachable, misclassified as infinite. The earth shimmers like spilled glitter. We mold the snow into forts, dams, castles, weaponry, and angels. And my sister and I are crazy, giddy, unbreakably young for one unraveling minute. And my last poem is Separation. The squeeze of an embrace, backpacks bumping, t-shirts touching, the crisp scent of new notebooks, autumn, purpose, musty buildings, young life, ramming, crashing, spontaneous singing, bells of laughter, liquid smiles, when life flowed. Now I sit silently in my bedroom, scribbling notes in the margin of history textbooks as they're being written. The news plays on the TV like live-action museum paintings. What is more deadly and potent, fear or ignorance? Daffodils turn to marigolds. Heat plasters, then unpeels itself. Light waxes and wanes on my walls. Fireflies dance, then disappear, and cicadas that I never listened to before sing me to sleep. We were always looking, never seeing, with salty wounds and half-empty cups. I'd like to piece normal back together, not as a puzzle, but as a collage, with cutouts from Plagues magazine, when the world's hourglass resets its sand. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Rihanna, for that incredible reading. You guys are not only doing such good work, you're such good readers as well. So thank you. So we're also fortunate to have with us Eliza Babbitt from Central Bucks High School East. She's a senior. Welcome, Eliza.
Hello. Again, as all other people are glad to be here, I'm too. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm going to be reading one of my poems that I submitted. It's called An Ode to the Poet. As it is the perfect outpost for late night travelers. They come and leave in minutes, inattentive to the disorder that lies deeper within. My brain works faster than my mouth, and there is only so much information I can spew in a single breath, so I've learned to express myself on paper instead. When my words hit the pages, they make sense to me again. 5. I didn't think that leaving would be this easy. 6. I suppose it's time for both of us to move on. I hesitate to tell you that if we are meant to be together, we will meet again. We are not built to live a cliche. 7. I haven't written properly in years now. I once had ink flooding from my veins onto parchment paper and phrases stitched into my skin, but yesterday I bloodied my fist trying to grasp my heart in hopes that I could shock my nerves into feeling something again. My pen has become a weight I can no longer bear to hold, and melancholy misery has purged all substance from my mind, so it wanders aimlessly while my jagged nails find solace in scratching away words I used to welcome. Today, I sport bandages and scars from patching myself up. I'm ashamed of others seeing the hollow remnant of the poet I used to be, so I hide my corpse in a coffin and pray that my soul will take another form. Like the God I have never believed in, it does not listen to my plea. My ghost crosses from the courtyard into town with ease. It wreaks havoc on those that have been saturated in satisfaction and steals candy from children and is selfish, the way I could never bring myself to be. Somehow my footsteps have become a little heavier. I hope they haunt you when I'm gone.
Thanks so much. So I was writing in the chat, you were breaking up at the very beginning. I wonder if you would mind reading just the first couple of sections again.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it was an ode to the poet I used to be. 1, goodbye. 2, I'll miss you. 3, I'm sorry I let this get between us. 4, you should know that I never think before I speak. My mind is a 24-hour convenience store with subpar coffee but good reviews because it is the perfect outpost for late-night travelers. They come and leave in minutes, inattentive to the disorder that lies deeper within. My brain works faster than my mouth, and there is only so much information I can spew in a single breath, so I've learned to express myself on paper instead. When my words hit the pages, they make sense to me again. Did you need more, or was that it?
That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful poem. Thank you. Kira Meenan is with us today as well from Council Rock High School South. Kira is a senior there. Welcome, Kira.
Thank you. I'm very grateful and happy to be here today to be able to share one of the poems that I submitted. So today I'll be reading the poem that I submitted called Reality Check, and I wrote this poem to explore how our suffering from the pandemic in the past year can serve to bring our attention to some of the suffering that nature has also been experiencing in the past few years. So here it goes. Trees burnt down as if nature bestows no significance. Animals losing the habitat that is rightly theirs because humans are superior beings, at least in the minds of those who have control. Sending thick, black smog into the atmosphere, ruining the divine protection it provides us, our needs have become stronger than those of nature, Although nature gives us everything we need, it still wasn't enough. But Mother Nature will protect herself. When tornadoes and damaging wildfires do nothing to subside the grief, as they only impact those who lack a voice. The only clear answer is a widespread virus, one that does not discriminate. She's not being harsh, but only wants to slow us down so that we may preserve the land that we have the privilege of inhabiting. For if her signals are not strong enough, they will crumble the land before our eyes, and the damage will be irreparable.
Thank you so much. That's a powerful poem. Really appreciate you being here and reading it for us. And finally, Caitlin Pine is also here with us from Council Rock High School South, also a senior. Welcome, Caitlin.
Hi, thank you everyone for coming to listen to my poem. I wrote this poem because I wanted to share a little bit about kind of the stuff I forgot and some of the stuff I've learned throughout the year. And it's kind of just a commemoration of all the stuff I've learned each year of my life. And I called this poem, I Forgot Everything. There's a difference between grief and remorse. You must know that difference. Use a new word every day to build up your vocabulary. Do not be upset if you have to repeat yourself on the 2nd, 5th, or even 10th time. The most important thing in communication is to hear what is not being said. This is how you light a candle. This is how you light a fire. This is how you light a pumpkin. This is how you trap and release a misplaced bug. This is how you fall in love. This is how to fix a broken heart. Time. This is how you stop worrying about your first love. He is not coming back. This is how you pit a cherry, but avoid the juice. It stains. This is how you laugh so hard your stomach hurts. This is how you greet a stranger. This is how you greet a family member. This is how you greet someone who rests under the ground. This is how you say goodbye. This is how you run. This is how you run away from people so that you do not get caught. This is how you tell a convincing lie, but never lie to yourself. Never walk alone after midnight in the city. You must always believe you are being followed. Answer that question right. Answer that question wrong. Just always answer that question. Learn to love music from all parts of the world. It broadens your cultural awareness. Please promise that you will find one level-headed friend to keep you from falling. This is how you learn to love to read. This is how to read in the car. This is how to imagine yourself in a novel. This is how you stargaze. Watch the North Star, it never moves. This is how you remind yourself that no matter how far away you seem from someone, you both sleep under the same luminous stars. This is how you cook a hard-boiled egg. Bring to a boil and gently place eggs in. Do not crack them. This is how to listen to a person's heartbeat to check his or her pulse. Give hugs freely. It releases serotonin. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. It's a phenomenal poem. So I wonder whether to finish up today, whether our judges have any final words of advice for the poets here. Not that they need it, they seem to be all on their way. And I hope that everyone here continues to write and that this summer is particularly productive for you all. But we do have 2 poet laureates with us today. So any final words, Jane or Mary Jo?
I think you said it with keep writing. Sometimes we write for self-expression, sometimes we write just for ourselves, and that's really valid. Although you guys have written something for yourselves, but also for us. And I think that's the key to success, is not if you want other people to bring other people in, you always think about the other people and be true to your poems. But I think you're all doing that, every one of you. And I just want to say, keep going. There were decades in my life where I didn't write, and I came back to it, but keep going. You're all doing really good work. And thank you for reading today.
I would just add, not only keep writing, but keep reading. When I was starting out in high school, it was really hard to get my hands on contemporary poetry. The libraries, had Robert Frost and Emily Dickinson, and of course Shakespeare, and it was hard to find poets that I could relate to, and that really happened more when I was in college. But with the internet, with Google, you could have a poem delivered a day to your mailbox. You could find the kind of poets that you like and then branch off from there, see who they're reading, who they mention in their books. So go out and explore. A lot of great writers out there. And one last thing, remember to send me a copy of your books when they're published. I want a signed copy from each of you.
That's excellent and a great place to end for today. Thank you to our judges, to all of you poets here today, and to everyone for tuning in. And thanks as always to Damon Honeycutt, without whom I could not do this. And be well, everyone. And yeah, keep writing.